All right, can you guys see that, the home screen? Okay, perfect. So at this point, obviously you're already gonna have done this side. So you're just gonna log in with the email and password that you set up for yourself. And hopefully this will work. All right, click sign in. Like I said, my internet's a little sluggish today. And you're going to be taken to your grantee portal home screen. There we go, which looks like this. And from there, it's super self-explanatory. You're going to hit apply for funding right underneath the information tab over there. So we're just going to focus on this multi-year health program funding. So over on the right, you're going to click this button that says apply for the multi-year program grant, and you're going to be taken to the application, which looks like this. So you'll have up at the top, you'll see your organization name, and then you're going to see this table of contents right here. A couple notes before I start going through the application. This table of contents doubles as a navigation tool. So I can navigate to the different sections of the application by just clicking on them. So if I want to put a budget, it'll take me down there. That's important because you are on a computer, and computers sometimes don't like to be nice, and you might get taken back up to the top for whatever reason. So instead of having to scroll through the application, you can just click on these and you'll be taken to wherever you want to go. I also want to point out these little red asterisks right here. Like was mentioned in the video, those indicate a required field. So you won't be able to submit an application if one of those is left blank. Another note is these little more information. Those are PDFs that are linked, and they're scattered throughout the application, and they just provide you more information. So like right here, they're indicated by this blue font. And if I click on them, hopefully this will take me where I want to go. There we go. And you'll be taken to a PDF that will give you more information on whatever it is you clicked. So in this case, the primary contact and the primary signatory. And I'll try and point those out just a second as I go. The last one is I want to point out the save and continue and the save and close button down here. They might switch places. I figured out as I've been navigating through the portal that whichever one you used most recently in the portal is going to appear on the right. So watch which one you're clicking. However, if you do accidentally hit save and close instead of save and continue, it's not a big deal. I'll show you. So if I hit save and close, it's going to take me to the submit screen. But I can get back to the application by just hitting this edit button up in the top right-hand corner. So as you, if it wants to take me back, there it goes. Your save and continue button is your save button. So save as you go. I'd recommend using this at the end of each section or anytime you input a large chunk of text, just to make sure that your progress gets saved so you don't lose anything halfway through the application. All right, and I think that was all my little notes. So we're going to start going through. So you're going to start with your organization information. Some of this will automatically be pulled from your organization's tab. So like the organization and location. These two can be changed, but I don't see you having to change those, but they are, you can. The mission statement and the organization summary down here, those cannot be edited on your application. You can edit those in your organization tab, but not on the application. So it's important that you keep those up to date. The next step is going to be inputting a primary contact and a primary signatory. Like I pointed out, there's more information on what those are in this PDF here. There's two different ways to add a contact and a signatory. The first one is to use the drop-down and just select from the people list you already have. The other option is to click this add new button, and you'll be able to add a new person as either your contact or your signatory. Note that the first name, the last name, and the email are all that's required, but like with anything, you're more than welcome to add more information if you see fit. So we're gonna add another person here. And then I'll hit save. And your person will pop up with their email right where you want them to. The next one is if this grant includes a fiscal sponsor, and there's a definition underneath it right here that tells you what a fiscal sponsorship is. If I hit no, there will be no further steps. If I hit yes, a pop-up will appear that will ask you to include your fiscal organization information. That includes name, address, contact name and email, signatory name and email, an organization mission, and you can input all of that in this text box here. All right, and then the next section is program details. And I'm actually gonna hit save and continue at the end of this section. So the program details is the overview of your program. So you're gonna have the program title and a program summary. Your program summary is basically the elevator pitch, who you are, what you're trying to do, what your project is. Then you're going to choose a start date and end date. And you're going to use this little calendar icon right here. And you're going to select from the drop downs what you want your start date and end date to be. It'll pop up right there. Same thing with the end date. And the number of contingent years you're requested, you will select 1, 2, or 3 there. Now you're going to input your total program budget for your first year and your amount requested from Verdant. Again, there's a little PDF right here that'll give you some information on that. Your total program budget is the total amount budgeted for the entire program, and your amount requested from Verdant is just the amount that you are requesting from us. These two numbers will be used to generate the percentage funded by Verdant, but I'll show you that later in the budget section because that doesn't happen until a little bit later in the application. You're going to state whether this is a new or renewal. If you are unsure, there is little helpful definitions right there. And then you're going to select which priority area your program falls under. You can select more than one, but you don't have to. So you'll select them by clicking the priority area you want and using this arrow to move it there. If you accidentally move one over that you didn't mean to move, you can just click on it. Oh, there we go. You can just click on it and move it back. There are 9 narrative questions. At this point in the application, you're going to hit these narrative portions. They will be linked on the website so you can review them beforehand, and I'm going to hand it over to Zoe to go over that portion with you.
Yeah. So these narrative questions are the same questions that we have been using throughout the year in the Word document download. And the goal of these is really to provide additional information in those kind of 4 basic scoring categories that we talked about in the beginning of the presentation. So you'll see each piece is required. So we do require a response to each narrative prompt. And it's really important to kind of go back and reference the whole prompt because there are a couple that have kind of multiple questions embedded within one. So you'll see the first being, what is the community need for this project program? Be as specific as possible using local statistics and agency information to show the need. So Thea here could enter free text, enter in information. There's also the ability to copy and paste in information, including kind of rich text, which is a unique function of Flux. And as Thea mentioned, we will have a Word document of these narrative questions available on our website so that people can work that way and then copy them into the Flux system, as well as working on kind of an application outside of the period of time that you will be able to submit that in Flux. As Thea mentioned, with the save and continue versus save and close functionality, you also can save this as a draft and come back and work on it later, or have multiple people working on it, or send it to me to look at. So there's a lot of good functionality built in. Additionally, here we have how does the program directly impact Verdant's priority areas, one or multiple, and you will see you can reference back up to that PDF link with more information about our priority areas at the top where you selected them. We then ask here, and again, this is a multi-part question, who will be served by the program, and explain how the program serves residents of South Snohomish County and what your current strategies are or will be to recruit participants. Here's another prompt for more information about Verdant service areas. If you wanted to click there, it's going to reference a lot of the information about geographic and other requirements. Here's where we'll come down to a question regarding equity, diversity, and inclusion and community involvement. This is another multi-part question. So it asks, how does this program demonstrate equity, diversity, and inclusion? How will the populations you intend to serve be involved in program development, delivery, and evaluation? And how are the program or organization staff reflective of the populations you intend to serve? Well, next asks, who are other organizations that offer similar services to this program? How will you collaborate with them? And how is your program distinct? Importantly, we know that oftentimes there are many different similar seeming organizations providing work. And usually the piece that is most interesting or clarifying is what is distinct about them, but also knowing how they work together to make sure that kind of all residents are eligible for a service, or how they would refer between themselves. You'll see here in a prompt that we're asking, in addition to completing an outcome section below, where you will be indicating the specific kind of metrics you will be accomplishing through this work, just broadly, kind of in a narrative sense, what is the anticipated impact of the program? And what is your strategy for successful achievement and measurement of the outcomes that you include in the table following this section? This is another important piece here. So who are the key partners that will support this program and their roles? This is typically meant to mean external partners. So other organizations, programs, referral sources. And you'll see here there's a drop-down menu that asks, do any of the included partners provide facilities and or roles that are critical to meeting your outcomes? On this drop-down here, you'll select yes or no. If you select yes, so you'll see in italics below, it says, if so, please include a letter of support from each partner meeting the criteria in the document sections below. And when we get to that document upload piece, you'll see that there actually is a request where you can upload that letter of support. If you answered no here, there would not be the letter of support document upload request. We then ask how the program will be staffed and what the organizational capacity is to support the program. What previous success has your organization had with delivering the services in the program? If this is a new program to your organization, this could be a great opportunity to explain why you think you will be able to successfully implement and operationalize the scope of work. And then lastly, similar to the narrative question regarding outcomes, in addition to completing the formal budget form below, narratively just describe how you intend to use the funds and what other funding sources or resources have already been allocated to this program. So for instance, if you've received additional grants or from other funders, what are they? If you generate kind of participant fees or patient generated revenue, including that kind of briefly here. That is the narrative piece. And again, you can do that in a Word document and then kind of copy and paste that into these fields. There's a variety of ways to do that. You can draft it directly into these text boxes and save and continue as you go. And a lot of that is really just personal preference, but there is a way to save as a draft as you go directly within Flux. I'm going to pass it back over to Thea to go over the budget form. Unmute yourself.
There we go. It keeps muting me. I hit it 3 times. All right. So now we're going to move on to the budget section. So you're going to see this little percent showed up, but it hasn't filled in yet. It's not going to fill in until you input your budget, because it wants to make sure that the number that you entered at the top matches the number in this budgeted piece. So to add a budget, you're going to hit this little plus icon. And you're going to input the name of your project here, and then the year. So year 1, 2, or 3, it'll be the same as what you put up above. And then the same start date that you entered. If it wants to, here we go. And then you're going to have this table here where you're going to budget out your Verdant request. So this table is only focusing on the Verdant request. You're not going to do anything with your program total budget. And you're going to ignore this side here because you don't have any actual data for that yet. That's going to be filled out later because it is the same format as your reporting. So you're only going to be focused on this little budgeted column here, and you're going to budget out your program in each of these categories. So you have personal expenses, direct project expenses, administrative expenses, subcontractual expenses, oh my goodness, and other. And then when you come down here, this portion is optional, but you can include it if you think that it will help us to have more information or more detailed breakdown. So this is where you have the option of including line item breakdowns for each of those categories. And you can just use this text box here and fill it in however you want. So whether that's a bulleted list or just listing everything out, that is what these text boxes are for. But again, you don't have to do that. We would just recommend it if you think it would add more clarification for us. And once that's all filled in, you're going to hit this save button. And that budget is going to be inputted into your application. Give it a second. To go back to the top. So we're going to go back down there. And there's your budget table. You're going to notice this percent still hasn't showed up yet. You do need to hit save and continue to refresh it in order for that percent to show up. It's just an extra step that is needed. And there you can see that percent is now there. And then the next portion is your outcome section. There's only one required outcome, which is your number of individuals served, but we recommend you include at least 2 more. And the same thing with the budget, you're going to use this plus icon. And the first, you're going to select the year. The first metric is going to be individuals served. And then you're going to input your goal for that metric. So your metric is whatever your outcome is. And then obviously your annual goal is the goal for that outcome. You're going to hit save. Like I said, this is where this navigation at the top comes in really handy because sometimes it likes to jump around. And you're going to see that your outcome is now visible there. Once you input the individual served, check this box here saying that you have added the number of individuals served. No. And then you can add other metrics using the plus icon in the same way as you see fit, and they will all appear. So here, I'll add another one to show you what it'll look like. And they're just going to keep listing underneath each other right there. All right, and then the next section is going to be your acknowledgement section, and Zoe is going to go over that with you.
Yeah. And just like with the budget, the outcomes, these tables that are created, this will also be how you report. And it is very straightforward and simple, where you actually will just go back into field that looks very similar to this and type in your actuals, and that will generate documents that you will be able to reference. It's very cool. So the acknowledgements here, this is a series of drop downs. Again, this is kind of more of that eligibility kind of contractual pieces here. So these are all yes or no and or a multiple choice. The first being, I acknowledge that I can track and report outcomes and required reporting elements. We will have information on the grantee portal where we started this application regarding what those reports look like. But the basic piece here is that any budget expense that you added into your budget and or metric and goal that you entered into your outcomes, confirming that you have a way that you will be able to track and report on your progress towards each of those. You then have here, I acknowledge I can provide evidence of liability insurance meeting minimum criteria. We are working to determine minimum criteria. So at this point, it is just kind of the having liability insurance, general operating liability insurance. And if you have questions about that or concerns, also always please reach out to us and we can work together on that. This is a choose one, which is I can restrict funds received to approved budget, or I'm willing to learn how to restrict funds received to approved budget. And so that would be the first is, you know, how you can kind of track specifically those budget expenses to this specific contract. The second being you'd like some help in doing so. Myself and my colleague, Tammy, our Director of Finance and Operations, are happy to work with you on that. And then our last question here is, to the best of my knowledge and belief, all the information in this application is true and correct, and I am authorized by my organization to submit this application. So once you go through those yes or no answers, you will go into the final piece here, which is around document uploads. And I'm going to hand this back to Thea.
So where we have the document upload portion, as you can see, there's 3 here because we selected yes on that one drop down in the middle of the narrative questions. If you selected no, this third letters of support one will not show up. You'll only see the board of directors and the financial statements or audits. So to input a document, you're just going to hit this plus icon and it's going to give you this pop-up and you're going to hit add files. There we go. And this is where it gets a little funny, is you have to drag it into the box. So it's not like you're going to double click on it because that'll just open your document. You're going to select it and drag it over to the box. And then you'll hit start upload. Outside of that, start upload. And you'll get this little upload complete in the bottom. And then you can just hit this X and your document will appear right down here. Same thing with the financial statements or audits, but I'm not going to add that quite yet because I want to show you what happens later if you forget something when you submit. Letters of support, you can add more than one document. You might need more than 1 letters of support. So I can do the same thing, hit add files, and I can drag however many documents I want over there. And then same thing, start upload. And it'll say upload complete. And your documents will appear right there. So when you're all done with your application, you'll hit save and close. And it'll take you to your submitting screen where you can review everything that you inputted. And if everything looks complete, you can hit the submit button. Please note that save and close doesn't necessarily mean you have to submit. If you hit save and close and you just keep navigating the portal as normal, it's just going to send your request over this little pending request tab right here, and you can go back in and edit it later. So you don't have to do your application all at once if you don't want to. So I'm going to hit submit and then say okay, that I know I'm submitting the form. And since I forgot that one little document upload, it should pop up with a little error message up there. And you're going to either hit, it's kind of finicky. So you either hit jump to previous error or jump to next error. One of them will take you to the error that is there. And it took me down to this document section and it's highlighting that I haven't uploaded a financial statement or audit. So I can add that in. And then I can hit save and close again, and I should be able to submit my application without any problems this time. Hello, internet. There it goes. So I can hit submit, same thing. It should. Why did that not go? Oh, there it is. There's a little notification. I'll do it one more time so you can see it. Let's see if it'll pop up again. There's a little notification that says that your grant's been submitted. But again, my internet's being slow today, so it's taking a minute. You'll also see the little 1 popped up by the submitted requests, which means that your submit was moved there. So yeah, and that is the application process.